When ICAEW and WWF UK came together in 2008 to form the Finance Innovation Lab, we were essentially asking two questions. What does a financial system that drives a sustainable environment and thriving and just communities look like? And how would you go about achieving that? These are clearly very ambitious, focusing at the systemic level. And of course, no one group of people could do that, but we could certainly play our part. The main point, I think, in the questions we were asking was that whilst a thorough analysis of what went wrong in the financial crisis is absolutely right, we didn't want to be like the chorus in a Greek tragedy, endlessly characterising how awful it was, usually off stage. We wanted to focus on what could be done to change the system. This, of course, has brought us very close to the transforming finance movement, which is also seeking a way forward. And one strand of work within Finance Innovation Lab, the disruptive finance policies that has been led by Chris Hewitt, who's here today, I think is the main point of connection for us. From our perspective, this disruptive finance policy has so far culminated in the Transforming Finance Charter. The full text of this is now available on the Transforming Finance website, and you can read it there, but it outlines essentially three main characteristics for a new financial system. It calls for a banking system that is just. In other words, one where there is no embedded too-big-to-fail ransom. One where retail and investment banking are separated, where there is greater diversity and competition within the system, a greater level of funding directed at the real economy, and an absolutely true and proper role for the state. A second characteristic is investing as if the future matters. And that's really about aligning the interests of all the intermediaries in the investment process with the poor old man and woman right at the end, who's the true investor. And building in environmental and social considerations, building in greater transparency, and actually gearing towards the creation of long-term value. In other words, I suppose, creating for us pensions, but also ensuring that we and the planet survive long enough to draw them. And the last characteristic is about innovation, but innovation that is a force for good, not just for its own sake, or not just self-referencing in the financial system. So in other words, one that might include innovation around inclusion, or providing finance in the real economy, and a true and real support for that innovation. So I encourage you to look at the Charter, and if you feel able to do so, to encourage your organisations to sign up to it. When I say we this morning, I also don't just mean Finance Innovation Lab, I mean we, ICAEW, are really delighted to have the opportunity to host you here today. We are incorporated under a Royal Charter that places on us an overriding public interest role. That means that where we are conflicted between the interests of our members, and there are 140,000 of them, and the interests of the public, we must act in the public interest. So it's therefore a standard against which we could be held to account. More practically, what we feel that means is that we should be hosting and giving a platform to some of the very difficult questions, in this case around the financial system, that might make us feel uncomfortable, might very well make our members feel uncomfortable, and certainly would make the financial and business community feel uncomfortable. They're nevertheless questions we shouldn't run away from, and I think those questions are being asked here today. And there is something, there's a rather kind of delightful geography in that here we are today, right in the heart of the city, asking those questions in the home of the profession whose economic purpose is to build trust in that system.